What the heck we got going on here, boys and girls? We got 6 people in the chat already. Hey, guys, it's Mikey Wine here. You guys know me as Gundam Morning Works, and we are live again. And so let me just get started here. Giovanni's like, I'm first. He's in first. I've been watching this for the last 15 minutes. It's pretty funny. Like 6 people in here in the chat. So Julius, close second. Fuzzy Space Kitty. That's Nigel from New Zealand. He's in third. And then we got Nick popped in shortly after that. Mr. Left with questions. Julius. Don't forget Julius. Julius is in there. Actually, before Nick. And then we had Angel pop in shortly after that. And so everybody's kind of chiming in here, and guys are having your own conversations. That's awesome. Nigel was talking about needing a large-scale Gundam, I think, somewhere in there. I needed some suggestions on that. But before we get started, I'm sporting a shirt. This is from Those Gundam Guys, and my good friends over at Those Gundam Guys hooked me up with this. This is the new shirt for this year's competition. It's coming in on November 9th this year at the Doubletree Hotel. It's SCGMC. Go check it out if you have the opportunity to get to California and go to Buena Park. That is where the competition is on November 9th. It's a Sunday. And this is the shirt. The theme was Macross or Robotech. So we have Macrotech, right? And then you got Those Gundam Guys here. And I think the gun pod, where is it? The gun pod of the Valkyrie has ESFS on it, and there's a Haro floating around here somewhere. I think he's over here, somewhere by Roy. Anyway, guys, you guys can check out thosegundamguys.org, and that's where you can find all these T-shirts and buy some merch for yourselves if you want. So be it. Anyway, yeah. So this shirt is not available yet. It will be available at the show, as far as I know. And then after the show, they will be on the website. So I got lucky; they were able to hook me up with last year's shirt, which I didn't get usually on time, and then I also got that one, and I got this one, which is for this year. So what are we doing? Let me make an adjustment here to the face cam because I had to lower it down a little bit just to get my ugly mug on there. We're doing pigments, and we're going to do some burn effects tonight. We're going to try to do cool T-shirt. Thank you, sir. I cheat when the notification comes on. I put, well, you didn't this time because I think somebody beat you. But yeah, I think it's cool that you guys are hanging out waiting. It's pretty awesome. It makes me feel great when you guys are here ahead of time, just kind of talking amongst yourselves before I even start the show. So it's pretty cool. I like it. Anyway, cool T-shirt. Thank you, sir. And yeah, like I said, you guys can check out at thosegundamguys.org, and that's one word, Those Gundam Guys. And I'll tell you a funny story. When I first moved back to Orange County, when and Angel can attest to this, we went to a model store there, and there was the owner had an Asian accent, and I don't want to diss anybody like that, but you know how sometimes it's kind of difficult to understand someone with a thick accent, and he was saying Those Gundam Guys, and he says, you got to go see Those Gundam Guys, and I kept thinking he was saying you got to go see those goddamn guys, and I was like, what are you talking about? And then he showed me a flyer for their competition, and that was actually their second year. Now I think, I don't even know where they're at. They're at least over 10 years in doing this competition every November. It's usually the first or second weekend in November. This year I think the days kind of fall, like the first or second is on a Sunday or something like that. So that's why they went to the 9th. It's usually around my birthday. So that works out for me. Yeah, Angel remembers. Good times. That's where I met you, Mike. Yeah, I know. I remember, Giovanni. That was awesome. Good to see you there as well. And trying to get back into the hobby again. Well, good. That's you're back in it now, as far as I can tell. You've been sending me some photos of your projects, and I appreciate that. It's really, really cool. Orange County, are you near? You're talking about me? Well, I'm in Washington State now, but back then, we lived in Orange County. I was South Orange County, Laguna Beach. I grew up in Dana Point, so it was all in Orange County, but that's for the first 19 years of my life I spent in Dana Point, and then I moved around a little bit, but always around the coastal area there. And it wasn't until I met my wife that I moved out to Inland Empire, and that's when I met Angel. as you can see in the chat here too. So he's family now. Known him for as long as my daughter's been alive, which is 27 years now. So long time. I went that year. Let's see. Tim Chalameca did a presentation. Yeah, that's right, because he also won, I think, the expert category 2 years in a row. I think that was for Mr. Child of Mecca that we know, Tim Harkins. Yeah, Tim Harkins. Yeah, Harkins. Yeah, I get him mixed up with another guy named Tim Hawkins, who's a musician, comedian guy. But yeah, they're not the same. So Fuzzy says, "Oh, I see." Yeah, so I'm still Pacific Northwest area, but just a little further north up the coast and in around Seattle. West side, east side, west side. Can't we just go inside? It's hot outside. I want to go inside. So anyway, let's go down to the bench here. So I'm going to move this away in a minute here, but I wanted to kind of show everybody how this is kind of setting. Now that I've got everything glued in place, now nothing is going to move. All the pistons and stuff underneath are fixed and they're in position. And then also the decals and the streaking and the chipping are done. Now we're just going to work on pigments. And I'm going to be using at least 3 of these. I've got 4 here, but I think primarily I'm going to be using 3. One of them is smoke, which is kind of a dry, dark, sooty. It's not stark black, but it's definitely a dark gray, a very dark gray, if almost black. And then we've got burnt red rust, which is very common in this type of burn effect. If you've ever just Google burned tanks or tanks burned or burned out tanks or whatever, you can see a lot of photographs, a lot of images you can find, and you'll see a lot of really bright red rust, because when paint burns away, when you get that much heat, it leaves just bare metal behind, and then it rusts or turns red very quickly. So we've got that, and then we've got white ash, which is another byproduct of something like that. So what I'm trying to simulate with this head was with being struck and blown through. I wanted to make it look like it kind of burned from the inside out. So we're going to see the exits here. I started a little bit on the top here where the exit holes are. The entrance is in the front here on the eye, and I'll give a little bit closer shot here in just a second. And then, but I wanted to look like it kind of burned from the inside out. So let's just say an incendiary round or something like that went through, caught everything, kind of burned everything out, and then left behind a useless paperweight at this point. Your west side too. So Fuzzy's Nigel is west side of New Zealand. That's awesome. Break out the pastel chalks. Well, I don't have any. I would break out the pastels, but I haven't purchased a set of them that I can make my own colors with. I only have the dry pigments that I have in my own collection here. So we'll go down to close up, and I'm going to show this before, just because this is settled in, and you can see how this is sitting in the base. But then I'll remove this big plastic or foam thing, just so I can work on this. So this is going to sit. If I tilt this up, you can kind of see at ground level how that's going to be. It's going to be semi buried in the sand. I'm going to have to fill in some areas around this energy tube here with the my terrain product, the AK stuff. But then if we look at this side, you can see everything underneath. Now this will also be dirtied up quite a bit, and a lot of this area is going to be filled in. I had to dig out a pretty good section of it because I wasn't sure where everything was going to kind of land. So some of this, even in the back here, you can see this hole underneath the rear. That's going to have to be filled in, but none of that's a big deal. I just need to fill in some of those areas to make it look like this kind of came plopping down from 60 feet and landed on the sand. And then, of course, I've got my spot here where the tank is going to be. Have some figures maybe milling around in front of this, but that's it. So let me just take this off, and I will get this base out of the way so I can work a little bit easier And for the meantime, I'll show you what I started. I started with a little bit of soot, that smoke color, and then some of that red rust. Now, in combination, when we add these pigments, I haven't put any fixer on these yet. I've just kind of dabbed them with a couple of brushes. I've got 2 brushes here. Get these out of the way. So this is primarily my pigment brush that I use mostly, and this is an S85. It's from Sapphire, Robert Simmons, number 4. It's just a nice, soft, but relatively kind of a medium-sized round bristle, and it collects pigment very easily just by dabbing it and putting it on there. And then I've got this red one here. This is a pretty cheap brush, but this is my fixer brush. So I will go back and use pigment fixer when I want to dab those areas and cement them down essentially. Let's see what we got here. You seal the pigments with clear coat. You can, but that's a good question. Well, I just mentioned before I answered you was this is a pigment fixer. So what this does is it's basically an enamel-based, almost like a clear coat. And so when this goes on, you can dab this on over. You can also use it as a little bit to move everything around. But once it dries, it will seal everything in and hold it down. It'll be fixed in place. So I don't necessarily have to go over with a clear coat. If there's a little bit of gloss or shine that I want to get rid of, then I will go ahead and maybe do a quick little pass with some flat or some the clear matte finish from Gaia Notes, and that will even everything out. But for the most part, it dries flat, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to hit it with clear first to seal the flat only. Well, I have already sealed everything on this before I started doing the chipping, so I may, Angel, that was Angel asking that. I may go back and just go over the whole thing. I didn't want to mist over or flat coat over the lens, the glass that's still intact here. I did do a little bit around the border of it to make it look like it's been weathered slightly. There will be some dust and other things when I put more pigment on this. Of course, when it hits the ground, there's going to be a lot of dust settling around. So there's quite a bit of work's going to go into making this look like it landed on the ground. But I didn't want to flat coat too much there. I still want to be able to see the optics inside this lens here, and it looks a little bit brighter on camera. But if you're in person, it's frosted, but you can still see through it, so it's pretty nice. But I will, if I need to, I will hit these areas with a flat coat over the fixer just to kind of make sure that there's no kind of a transparent line where the fixer has dried. Most of the time when it dries, you don't see that, but occasionally you do. So if I need to move it around, when you're using the fixer, you can use the brush to move even the pigment around, because it kind of everything gets a little bit suspended in the fluid. So you can kind of move it around until you get the effect you want, and then leave it alone, let it dry. So for the time being, what I'm going to start with is tonight, and we'll see how far we get here. I'm going to work on both the exit and the entrance. So as this is drying, I might put some fixer on here. When I get the enough pigment down, I'll put some fixer on that, and then move over to the entrance area here, and then I'll start. Hey, what's up, Fish? How you doing? You're back. Good to see you, man. So I will, while this is drying, I can work on the entrance here and also put some more burn effects there. And so I work back and forth as these dry, and then we can kind of accomplish quite a bit here. So let's see what we got. Fish is back. He says, I'm back. That's awesome. Good to have you. Cool. That's the that lets you adjust the opacity of the paint. Yes, the fixer, it doesn't immediately set. So yeah, you can move it around. It's an enamel-based fluid, so it's pretty thin. But putting it on with a brush, you can move it around and get some other effects. I did the same thing on the tank. If you want, I can actually bring that back over here. So let me just go grab it real quick. And so I did the same thing with the tank for the dirt and dust effects here. So anywhere there is a flat area that would, where dust would settle, I tried to make dirty this. And again, I will say that this came out quite a bit dirtier than I originally anticipated, but that's just the nature of the beast, I guess. So what you hear rattling around is the battery holder inside. If I pull the turret off, there's a battery holder so I can light up the fiber optics and light up the headlights in the front of this. But I mean, it is pretty dirty and grimy, but that's okay. And it does look a little bit brighter on camera. I will say that it's a little bit muted in person. What are you talking about? Been putting. What are we talking about here? Littles to sleep. Oh, we were talking about pigments, and we're talking about. I was trying to figure out what Nick was talking about. I forgot you got a newborn. We're talking about pigments. We're talking about fixer and moving the pigments around, but with the fixer in place, and then letting it dry once you get the. Looks awesome though. Thanks, Angel. And so you get the desired effect you want. Like even on the bottom here, you can see I didn't have to do the bottom, but I did want to make sure a lot of those dust and rust effects were there, just in case. Now, like I said, you're hearing that rattle around. And let me pull this off, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So once I take the turret off, and Fuzzy, I don't know if Fuzzy has seen this, Nigel, but I have. Let me see if I can find a test battery here. I know I've got one around here somewhere. If I have to, I'll pop. Oh, there it is. It may not be as bright as I would like it, but what I'm going to do is I fixed. Oh, I must have left one in there. Well, that burned out. So that battery's dead. All right, let's see if this one lights up. So I put a little battery holder in here, and yeah, not very bright. Pretty bright, pretty lightweight. So I'm going to take this battery in. If you want to see this, I'm going to do it right. I've got a brand new one here in the package. Give me a sec here to open this up. And then we'll put in a fresh battery. You guys can see what it's been a couple of weeks. It's been a minute since we had the tank out to see the actual fiber optics in work here, or in play. So let me just pop this fresh battery in. All right. Now, for giggles, we're going to put the turret back on. Okay. There we go. So now you got the headlights. And that's just 4 strands of 2 millimeter fiber optic that are bloomed on the ends to make them kind of a bulb shape. When you bloom fiber optic, it kind of rounds the dome. It turns like a mushroom type shape in the front. Makes it also very, very clear and clean. Even after you cut, when you cut a fiber optic, there might be a little bit of a jagged. Thanks, Fuzzy. Might be a little bit of a jagged edge, but when you use a heat source to it, you can bloom that end and make it very, very smooth and look like a bulb. And that's what I did here. So you got 4 headlights on. Ultraman Dyna, what's going on? Good evening, everyone. How are you, sir? I'm assuming it's a sir. Maybe if I'm wrong, please correct me. I apologize. Good to have you. I don't think we've had you in the room before, but I do appreciate any new people I can get to come check this out. So anyway, I'm just showing off the tank here. This was part of the diorama. Originally, I was just going to do this tank as it's a standalone kit. And then we got the idea about using the Zaku head from the Rumbarel set. Got something going on with one of these wheels. I'm going to have to make a repair on that, but I want to do that at another time. One of my wheels is a little loose on the tank. No big deals there. So tonight, though, we're going to be using dry pigments. We're going to do some burn effects here with the Zaku head. Try to miss. I got some comments here. I'm trying to keep up, guys. I appreciate you commenting. Sorry if I missed somebody. If I missed a question, put it back in the comment again. I can answer it for you. I was looking for this kit on eBay last night. $450 New Zealand. Good God. Now, I don't know what the New Zealand currency is valued in US, but 450 seems really high unless the what does New Zealand use? Is it their own currency or is it like the euro or something like that? Let me know, Fuzzy. Let me know what you think, Nigel. Freaking awesome. Good evening, everyone. I'm just trying to catch up. First time attending the live stream. Thank you, Ultimate. Yes, I thought so, but thanks for coming in. If you have any questions, put it in the chat, and I will try to answer as best I can. So right now we got 3 pigments I know for sure I'm going to use, and that is the burnt red, rust, the smoke, and the white ash. Like I said earlier, if you guys Google just burnt tanks, you can find a lot of images online with tanks that have been, blown apart. A lot of this stuff's coming out of the Russian-Ukrainian war, so you can see, most expensive M61 was $1,300. Ugh, good Lord. That is a lot. But anyway, like I was saying, you can see a lot of images of burned out tanks, and of course, a lot of the images that are coming in online currently are from the Russian-Ukraine war. But the point is like I try to use reference photos like that when I'm recreating this kind of effect. So as you can see a little bit here, I started with a little bit of that smoke, and I just went around each exit hole here, and then I used a little bit of red rust. Now again, this is a little bit brighter on camera. It's not quite as bright. It looks very, very red on camera, but this is a little bit more brown. But I will be using that because when paint burns off of steel, of any kind of steel, it leaves behind nothing. It just burns off the paint and everything else. So it's just bare metal, and it gets rusty very, very quickly. Let's see. Ultraman says, I really like the way the Zaku head is coming out. I'm going to have to steal some of your techniques. Hey, by all means, go ahead and do whatever you want. That's why I do this. It's all about promoting the hobby, helping builders try new things if they haven't tried before, and experimenting. Now this pigment's kind of cool because I can shake it up a little bit, and then just a tiny bit will stay on the cap. The rest will stay in the jar, and then I don't have to worry about trying to dip way down in the cap in the bottle here. I can just take a little bit off the cap. Now this brush again is a medium brush. It's a number 4, and so but it holds pigment really, really well. That's what I like about it. So anytime I'm using pigments for dust effects or anything like this, I like to use this brush because it holds on to some of the pigments quite nicely. Now, this is going to create a little bit of a dusty mess on the bench. I will say that if you ever use this stuff, just keep in mind these are some pretty intense powders, a very, very fine powder, and they will leave behind. Some of it's going to blow off and get on the bench, and eventually you're going to have to take like a wet towel or something and kind of collect everything. Otherwise, it's going to end up all over you and your arms and your hands and everything else. So, but as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm just going around this hole. And I blew off a little bit there, but I'm just trying to get some of those areas that on the outside that would have been subject to some of that really intense heat. And then we're going to add the ash. The ash will be added last. The white ash will really kind of make this whole thing pop. So, and I can go inside even with the white ash. In here, especially inside the hole, there's going to be quite a bit of white ash because that's where most of the heat would have been, located. Now, at any time, I can add fixer to this. But what I want to do first is I want to get a little bit of a base down of some of these colors and then add a little fixer to it. And then go back over that with another color. I can always go back and add more. At least what will happen is the fixer will solidify everything that I've already put on, and then I can just add layers upon layers. But one thing to be mindful of is when doing this, you want to make sure as soon as you put the fixture on, that's it. It's gonna stay. So make sure it's what you want before you put the fixture down. A lot of soot and rust. Oh gosh, what I miss here? Let me go back up here. Okay, that's what we're here for. That's right, Angel. Angel's absolutely correct. Lots of soot and rust. And Nigel says steel once exposed to high heat. Trust me, yeah, rust very quickly. That's what I was saying. Exactly. What brand of pigments? These pigments are from AK. I have other stuff from MIG. I've got some from MIG. I also have another a few jars from their square little plastic jars from AIM products. There's a lot of people that make dry pigments. All of these are from a kit that I bought. It was actually Burn Effects. It was a kit that came with all 4 of those pigments in one. So it was nice I didn't have to search for each individual color. I just bought the Burn Effects kit from AK, and it came with the white ash, the smoke, the burnt umber, and then the burnt red rust. I don't have the package anymore, otherwise I'd show it to you. Hey, Scholar, is that Scalar? Is that how you say that? Scalar Therm? How you doing, man? Dang, looking good. I appreciate that, sir. I apologize if I'm saying sir and I'm wrong. It's just force of habit for me to say that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Have you been looking at getting a couple of AK brush sets? Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, I have looked at brush sets, but I have so many brushes already. I just don't find the need to have to really buy another set or another couple of brushes. I did buy some nice long bristle ones for doing detail like line work and stuff like that, but that's for a specific purpose. Most of the stuff that I've had for quite a few years, and I get by with what I have. I only buy stuff if I really, really need it. It's not always like, oh, I got to buy it because it's cool to have, you know. I just buy it because I need it. Dang, looking good. Does the setter work with dry pigments or only AK? Oh, it works with anything, Angel. Good question. But yeah, no, it's a pigment fixer. It's a clear enamel fluid, so it'll work on any dry pigment. It'll probably work on other things too, but it's specifically kind of designed to do this kind of application. And if you look at the fixture, you can see like the bottom of the bottle. There's quite a bit because I've dipped the brush in there and I've dipped it and then put it on the fixer. So there's some pigment in the bottom of this. But I've got about there we go. I got about, let's get it in frame there. About 3/4 of a bottle left of the fixer. I'm gonna have to find some more of that because it really is great stuff. So now we've got a little bit, some of that red rust and that soot or that smoke around these holes here. Let's see. Fuzzy says some 9% of my brushes are very old and worn out. Yeah, I understand that. I got a couple that are like that, but I think it's a good point you make about having, I mean, I don't know if you were trying to or not, but having a brush that's worn out, it's okay, especially with doing pigments, because a lot of times you've got to really do some hard dabbing. So if you got an old brush you're not worried about really beating the crap out of, just go ahead and use that. I use these only because they kind of cling on to the pigment very, very well, and I'm able to spread it around and dab it and get those color effects that I like. Ultran says, if anyone knows where I can find a comprehensive tutorial on brush explanation and the uses for different types of petroleum. I would love to see that too. I was talking about it last week on the live stream that I don't know, I'm not really experienced on which kind of bristle, whether it be natural or synthetic, what works best with what. We're talking about, because I use Mr. Color paints for doing pretty much everything, even chipping. Come on, focus, camera. What are you doing? Really? And, I know that lacquer paints are not exactly the ideal thing to do for those things, but I've learned how to thin them properly and actually use them for most anything. So, but we were talking about brushes and what works best with what. And so, yeah, I would love to see a tutorial on that. That would be a great thing to watch. And if anybody does know of one, you guys can put it in the chat, and we'll forward it to everybody else to make sure they know. So for right now, what I'm going to do, moving on here, I'm talking quite a bit, so I'm going to wet the old whistle for a second. And then before I do any ash, okay, the white ash is going to be last. I'm going to fix these in place, and then we can work on the entrance. The entrance hole is over here. These are the exits. So now that I'm pretty satisfied with the way this looks, and I can always go back and add more. That's the nice thing about this. Once we put a fixture on it and let it dry, it's going to be ready to go. If I decide I want to put another layer on it, I can go ahead and add more. The only thing you can't really do is take it away. That's what's nice about these brushes. You just remove a little bit. If you don't, if the fixture, you want to move it around a little bit, you can use the fixture to move it, because it will suspend that pigment a little bit for you to blend it and do those things you want before. And when you're satisfied with it, leave it alone and it'll dry in place. So I'm just going to wet this brush a little bit. It doesn't take much. You can actually see the bristles. I mean, instantly just kind of pull that up. So I'm going to I don't want to have too much go on the model, but I want it to be saturated enough, and just dab it. And what this is going to do, it's just going to flow. Okay. You can see the glossiness there. I didn't go too far out. I just around this perimeter. All I did was kind of stay close to the hole. And then we'll do the same for the larger one here. I'm just getting a little bit of that pigment fixer on there, and I'm just dabbing. I'm not brushing, because if I brush, I'm going to move that pigment around. I want to let the fixer kind of flow out over the top and cement that kind of in place there. And it will kind of blend those colors a little bit too, which you might find it's actually works out well, because I need a new paper towel here. So when you put these colors on, and one might be a little bit darker than the other, it'll kind of blend those all together. One thing I have noticed too is that because this is enamel-based fluid, eventually this will dry and the bristles will get kind of stiff. If you let it dry, don't worry. You can use some lacquer thinner, and that will instantly loosen that up and get rid of that fixture. Let's see. Maybe I answered this question. I'm sorry. Here, let me go back to. Let me try to get caught up here on the. Oh boy. Oh, Fuzzy's trying to give us a tutorial here. I appreciate that. Basically, synthetic brushes are fine for 95% of all work. That's good, because we were talking about brushes a second earlier. Hold on a sec. I'm going to get through these comments here. Excellent. Thanks. Ultraman says thank you for that, of course. And then we got only when I get high levels of work, do you start to need better quality brushes? Yeah. And I don't do a lot of really fine. Like if I was trying to draw or hand paint an emblem or a logo, you'd want something that's very precision type of brush. But most of the stuff I do is just weather beaten, war machines. So to me, a basic brush sets are good. A good starting point. Yeah, I actually bought, and I do have some of those. This is one of the brushes out of a Tamiya set, modeling brush number 3. And yeah, they're very, very basic. I mean, even the stick is not, it's not even finished. It's just bare wood. But yeah, you can find those and do some basic things with that. Buy cheap, work your way up. Very good point, Angel. Yeah, starting something new. Definitely don't need to go crazy and buy something super expensive. Excuse me. How about cleaning the brushes? When you use water-based paints, it's easy, but what about lacquer-based paint? You use Mystic Color for painting. I use lacquer thinner. I just have a little old spice jar here. This used to be ground cumin. And I just, it's discolored. It's discolored because there's, so much paint's gone through it, but it's just lacquer thinner. I buy some the same lacquer thinner I clean my airbrush with. I put it a little bit in a jar there, clean my brushes with that. You could probably use enamel thinner with the fixer because it is enamel based, but lacquer thinner is going to do everything. I don't have to worry about ruining any of my, because I use AK odorless enamel thinner for a lot of my washes, but or the panel lining and stuff like that for cleaning that up. So I really don't want to waste this just to clean a brush. I just use lacquer thinner. It's way cheaper. Let's go down here. Match the cleaner to the type of paint. That is true. That is also true. And then what's considered better for cheap brushes? Well, if you're talking really, really cheap brushes, I have seen in rare occasions where lacquer thinner is a little too aggressive to some of the really cheap brushes, and some of the bristles will fall apart. But I mean, that's pretty rare. That's pretty rare. By cheap unbranded brushes, you still need a certain level of quality to achieve good results. $15 per brush, or $30 for a set of 3 or 4. Good point, Nigel. So yeah, you don't have to go crazy, but it sometimes this is one of those things like you get what you pay for sure. Clean your brushes with automotive two-way thinner at the end of painting. Okay, that's a good point. I've never tried that. Didn't know that was a good thing. I mean, how available is that stuff? Lacquer thinner is pretty easy to come by. So is it kind of the same thing? I don't know. And then Ultraman says, okay, that's good to know. When I make a purchase, I prefer to spend a little more and getting it to last. That makes sense. That's true. That's how you think of it. It's kind of what I just said. It's like sometimes you get what you pay for. It's good to buy good stuff. You don't have to go crazy, but you definitely don't want to be suffering from buying cheap stuff or having poor results, because sometimes a good middle ground is a good place to start. Hey, what's up, Ken? Ken's in there. How you doing, Mike? He says, and that's one of my coworkers. How you doing, Ken? Good to see you. We were talking last week. Oh yeah. Now that I thought about it, Ken just reminded me, because we're all dealing with this. We were talking about a new schedule that might come out for us, and I might have to change up the day because we're talking about having to go to 410s. Well, a lot of people spoke up and said, no, we don't want this. And so now it appears the bosses are putting their heads together to try to figure something out so we can keep pretty much the same schedule we had before. So for now, at least for the next 2 weeks, including this show, and next week, it will be as planned on Wednesday nights. If that changes, I will try to make an announcement as quickly as I know to find out. We still don't know what's going on because they're struggling to get this whole thing worked out. But yeah, nobody likes change. And a lot of people are like, man, they got their kids to take care of. They got they got other things going on. They can't just up and change their schedule. It's like I was given a choice when I was hired. Do you want to work 410s or 5/8s? And I took 5/8s because I like getting off earlier and having more time to relax in the afternoons. I don't want to be working from dark 30 to dark 30 and then go home. I already have an hour and a half drive home every day. So anyway, for now, that's where we're at with that. We're still remaining the same schedule. We'll see where it goes from here. Fuzzy says two-way thinner is basically the same as lacquer thinner. Okay, that's what I was thinking. I've never heard of that, but I was hoping it was kind of the same thing. I didn't want to speak out of turn there, but Thursday afternoon is good for the Southern Hemisphere. Yeah, it may have to be like a Thursday. I don't know. There's supposed to be a split week. Well, so I might have days off in the middle of the week. I just don't know yet. They haven't officially told us what's going on. So for now, I'm off this week. Next week, I will be working Tuesday through Saturday. That's our old schedule. And Wednesday, but I'm still getting off early enough to have the show at 6 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesday night. So if that changes, like I said, I will try to put an announcement up. Maybe when I create the live stream, I can do that at the same time. Try to say, hey, this time it's going to be on a different day. I really hate doing that to everybody. I know it's routine, and it makes it easier for everybody to know like when the show is going to be on every week. It makes it super easy. But real life gets in the way sometimes. I'm in your guys' future. I like it. I like it. Hey, man, I would love to meet you. That'd be awesome. Yeah, like I said earlier, can somebody buy me some plane tickets? I'll come check it out. All right, so this is almost dry. I mean, it worked pretty quickly. It does look a little bit brighter on camera. It's a little bit more muted in person, which is fine. But I'm going to move on before I'm going to let that sit for a little bit longer. And I'm going to go to the entrance hole over here. Excuse me. I'm going to start adding a little bit of that smoke and rust to those areas as well. So if you do have the opportunity to go to SCGMC in California, it's the largest Gundam-based model competition in the country. I don't even remember. I didn't make it the last few years. So actually, I'm going to shake this up a little bit. I don't remember how many entrants they had, but they keep growing every year by year. It was getting a little bit harder and harder to find a venue. So that's when they had to go to a Sunday event. It used to be on a Saturday. But switching to a Sunday event is only just to find a good venue, especially COVID, kind of changed everything there too. But it really is a nice event. They've got a lot of demos. In fact, that's where I learned how to airbrush for the first time, was at the event we went to all those years ago. They have a kids take and build. Basically, they get some free models donated from one of the vendors, and they do some. You can bring your kids in, and they can get a free kit and build it there and take it home with them. It's kind of cool. Various tutorials and things like that. A lot of great prizes and a good vendor selection. So yeah, if you get the opportunity, it's well worth it. Well worth it. I'm trying to keep my fingers off that other hole over there. Let's see. What did I miss? Did George pop in? I didn't see him. George gets on Thursdays to complain about the world. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have a hard time watching, unfortunately. But that's just, that's just me, I guess. When is that held? What are we talking about? SCGMC Ultraman? Is that what you're asking? I'm sorry if that's what you're asking about. Let me know in the chat if that's what you're asking about, and I will go back over it. I talked about it at the very beginning of the show, but you weren't in at the time, so you might have missed it. So let me know if that's exactly what you're asking about, and I can reiterate that point. Yeah, SCGMC? Okay. All right, so getting back, SCGMC this year, it's in Southern California and Buena Park at the Doubletree Hotel on Sunday, November 9th. I think it starts at 9 or 10. I tried to find out their starting times today. Before I started the show, I kind of went on the website. I was just or on Facebook, and I was looking at their Facebook page. You can find those Gundam guys on Facebook and find a lot of information there. Their website is thosegundamguys.org. You can also find the merch store, which has all the shirts and stuff like that. Again, the shirt I'm wearing is not available yet. It might be on the website, but I think they're saving that for the competition, and then after the competition is when it goes up. Whatever was remaining, whatever they didn't sell at the show, they will put on the website, and then you can pick them up there. But it's on November 9th. It's a Sunday. And yeah, great bunch of guys. Really good event. Really well done. A lot of experience, a lot of years in scale model building going into that show. All right, so now I've got some of this entrance hole here. What I missed. Oh, never mind, you found it. November 9th, yeah. Apparently it's 9 a.m. to 4. Okay, so you found the time. I was trying to verify the actual time. So yeah, early registration is probably 9 a.m. I think they cut off registration maybe around 11, something like that. They start judging at noon. And they try to do, in the meantime, they've got all of the other tutorials and things going on in different parts of the room. Vendors around the outskirts of the room. All the models and stuff will be in the center. It's usually what they try to do. And then they try to wrap it up. Fourth, I think they start awards maybe around 4 awards, and the raffle, the final raffle. I think they do several raffles throughout the day, but they'll do a final raffle with a really, really nice prize at the end there. So if anybody gets lucky and wins that, it's usually like a PG or some kind of very large scale nice kit or something like that that's hard to find. Nazina is limited with shows and events in the hobby industry. One day, the world tour. Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope we can keep this hobby going in the right direction and get everybody. Hopefully, everybody gets the chance to branch out and try something new. Okay, so getting back here, I got a little bit of, I got some soot around this. I keep saying soot, but it's called smoke. Soot would be a little bit darker. So you can see deep down in there, there's some, I did some dry brushing on the steel where the hole is. So in the eye socket there's some, I can get a little bit closer. Maybe it'll zoom in. There you go. So you can see the dry brush. I will go in there with some ash. And again, the ash is going to be closer, more deep down where all of the burning went on. So now the second point here to put on after I did the smoke is to do the red rust. So now I'm going to highlight those areas around these edges that would have been burned. So now you can see, like I got this, the smoke, and then the edges of that metal panel that was blown away is going to be in that high heat, that rust. That's what I'm trying to do, so we get those blended colors. I can even put a little bit around here. I may have to go in and clean off the glass a little bit. I got a little bit of dust on the glass. That's all right. Go down in there and do a little bit of that rust down inside on that dry brushed area. So let's see. Nick says, what's everyone working on today? What's everybody working on today? Good question. Chime in if you feel like it. Let us know what you're working on. I guess that's because it's in the desert. Streaking and rusting. Oh, was there a question that you were answering, Nigel, on that, or were you just commenting on what I'm doing here? I gotta hide the current comment. Well, what did I miss? Where's that comment at? Huh. I don't know where it went. Yeah, the desert. This is going to be in kind of a desert scheme, so it would be quite a little bit hotter, I guess. But I'm just trying to recreate high heat, burning from the inside out kind of effect. So I'm going in through the hole here and just hitting that with this burnt red rust. Now you can kind of see inside the hole there can still see the panel lines. There's still quite a bit of, the detail there, but you got the rest. Julia says they're a big hobby expo in Sydney. I don't know. Good question. Oh, you're going to ask about streaking. Well, I did a little bit of that, but you can see on the model on the head here, there's quite a bit, not quite a bit, but most of where the chipping was and things like that, I tried to create some streaking effects from where those, maybe panels came together, whether it be some panel separation and some streaking coming down from rust or whatever from those chips. Now the head, of course, is at the top of a 60-foot war machine, so there'll be a terrible amount of chipping going on. There'll be a lot more around the feet and stuff like that. But I wanted to make sure there was a good amount of some of these areas, where sand and dirt and things like that. So I do, and then I created the streaking off of that. Let's see. Nick says, I'm gluing sandpaper to toothpicks because I don't like to keep things simple. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta complicate it. That's what I tend to do, right? I start out with a simple idea, and then it starts getting more complicated. Give me 30 seconds, everybody. I will be right back. I'm going to place this right here. Give me 30 seconds. Being called away. Sorry about that. More like a minute. Sorry about that. Where did I miss here? Sandpaper. Yes, there it is, but full of Aussies. And that must be an issue. Although time works well with a bit of CA. What are we talking about? What did I miss? Oh, sandpaper. Gluing sandpaper toothpicks. Fuzzy. That's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. Left on my bench is a Tocom 35th AH64D. Is that like an Apache or something like that? AH64. I don't know the number significations, but if memory serves me right, I think it's like a helicopter. Am I correct in saying that, Nigel? Parts under 1 millimeter. Damn, that is small. That's crazy. AH64 Apache. So I was right. Wow. How did I know that? Maybe because I like the Apache. I really do. Okay, so now we got a little bit of that high heat around here. I'm going to do a little bit more. Actually, you know what? Not. I can add more later. I'm going to go ahead and do the fixer on this. Then we'll go back to the top and work the exits here with that white ash. This stupid lid keeps coming off. This darn thing. Stay in there. All right. So again, we're just going to dab the brush, get a little bit on there. And then I don't want to spread around the pigment much. I just want to let this flow. So I'm just going to kind of dab it so it flows. Don't want to spread it around. You can if you want, but I'm trying to kind of keep everything in place. I just want the pigment that I put down to stay where I don't need to move it around. You know what I mean? So now I've got to go in here and get these areas inside the eye where the sensor is, the sensor opening, and just kind of darken, just kind of touch those up so they'll dry. All right, now let's put the cap on this real quick. IDAF Israel, nice. I'm going to try and ruin 3 Space Marines. He's trying to ruin them? What do you mean? You're not going to ruin anything. Come on, man. All right, so now we're going to move on to the white ash. And this is what's going to make this whole thing pop. So, like I said in the beginning of the show, you can use Google and Google, burnt tanks and stuff like that, and then you can really see a lot of images of some burned out tanks, a lot of different configurations, a lot of them with the turrets. Obviously when a tank pops, sometimes the turret comes off, flips over, sometimes it lands upright. So as I'm going in here with this, I want to kind of give you that you can see inside there now. Now you're starting to see some of that detail with the ash. The ash is going to work its way out as I get further up toward the surface here. I'm just going down in, trying to get a lot of that down in there so it'll highlight those burn areas. So when anybody looks down there, they're going to see that. But it really does look like burned out from the inside, doesn't it? I think it's kind of cool the way this all comes together. And if I need to darken this up a little bit, if I get a little too bright, I can add a little bit of more of that smoke and just kind of blend it out. I want to put a little bit of this ash as the ash creeps out through the edges here. What was that? AK picture? What were we talking about? You talked about the products you're using. You show them. Oh yes. Sorry, I was in depth. These are our AKs. Now there are many products out there. These all happen to be from AK. This is there's 3 pigments. I have smoke, white ash. Actually got 4, but I'm only using 3 of the 4. And this is burnt red, rust. And I've got burnt umber, which is a little bit darker than the rust, but primarily it's a burnt color, but it's more of a brown. And then the fixer itself, which is also AK. And this is an enamel-based fluid that is used, and it dries flat for the most part. I was talking about maybe having to go over with this with another flat coat just to kind of smooth everything out. If you start seeing a little bit of, an outline, almost like where it dries, you can kind of see it here. You see how there's almost like a stink outline. That's where that fluid stopped moving and dried. That's what putting a flat coat over will take care of that. It'll kind of blend that out. Or I can just use a little bit more of the fixture and kind of blend it out as well. So I want to do the ash on the underside of these broken panels. Now again, this does look a little bit brighter on camera. It almost looks like very, very stark, like between the white and the black. You can really, really start to see that, but in person, It's a little bit more muted. It's definitely blended. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, the ash color is very nice. It does make it look better. That's why I waited. It's always the good thing to do last. Like when you're doing this kind of effect, you need to start with the darker colors and work your way up to the lighter colors. And the ash, the way it kind of almost like when it flicks off the brush, it leaves little white specks, and it looks literally like ash that is settled down from blowing through the air. It's a really really nice product. I'm really satisfied with the way they designed this ash to work because it's such a fine. It's just the right grain of powder that it looks like real burned ash. Real ash. That's what you want. Okay, get a little closer up there. It's a little bit darker in person. This almost looks like a light brown, but it's actually quite a bit of rust, quite a bit red and rust. So I'm going to add a little fixer to this. I could just leave this alone. One of the cool things about this is the fixer you can use to obviously glue this stuff down, but you can also just put dry pigment over the top of that and not put any fixer on it at all, which is a lot of times what I do at the very end is I'll put just a little bit of that, just the pigment alone, and leave it alone. Try not to touch it. Don't have to glue it down because it retains its powdery finish. And especially when you're using it for like dust effects and things like that, the fixer can at times blend away those individual granules of dust. It just makes it colorful versus actual, dirt or dust or whatever you're trying to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the pigment that I put inside the hole. I'm going to leave that alone because nothing's going to brush that off. Nothing's going to blow it off, anything like that. And I'm going to go back like I'm doing now, and I'm just putting fixture on the outside here because anything that I want to stay in place without moving later on that can be disturbed, I want to fix that in place. All right. So let that dry. Okay. What did I miss? Anything? I have seen. Yep. What's this? I have seen a lot of monos use a dropper. Yeah, that is true. You're right, Nigel. That is absolutely true. You can use a dropper. I'm just using a paintbrush that I can kind of dab in there. But yeah, a dropper will work too. You just have to make sure you get one that doesn't produce a really large drop. So something that you can kind of control and keep in place. Let's see. Yeah, it says pigment fixture. Yes. What do we got here? Very nice touch. Thank you. The side mark, I think Night Shift uses enamel thinners to remove the tide marks. Oh, yeah, I suppose I could do that. Once this dries, I could go back with some enamel thinner. That's a very good point. I may actually try that right now because I do have this AK enamel thinner. So once this fixture dries on this spot here, we'll try that out with using a Q-tip. I could probably smooth those edges like you're saying. Just to that's a good way to describe it. Tide marks, where the flow of whatever fixture stops and it leaves a noticeable line there. You can blend them away with a little bit of that enamel thinner. Since it's an enamel fluid, that makes perfect sense. I think you're onto something, Nigel. You always have good things to say, and I think that's brilliant. So now I'm going to go back in here with the ash and go deep down and get this ash into this eye socket area. Really make sure this looks burned out. Going back in over that hole where I had the dry brushing done to the damaged area. Now I'm just going to dress up these damaged areas right on the outside of the entrance here. Bit of a tide mark, I think. Yeah. That's what you were talking about. I first used this in 2013. That's how long I've had this. When I produced a Gundam diorama that I entered in SCGMC. No, not SCGMC. It was a GBWC in 2013. I managed to get third place in North America that year with my Officer Down diorama, and that's the first time I used these pigments. So I've had them for quite a while, over 10 years. But with practice, I think I learned a lot during that process. I think I could have done a lot better than I did, but I've learned a lot on how to use these. So now we've got this. I'll use the fixer on the outside. Nigel says there are a couple of new shorts in a post on my channel, my Maquet. You want to pop in and see it? Oh yeah, definitely. We'll do that. Definitely check that out. I appreciate that, sir. Yeah, it's really starting to come together. Now, the tricky part, and I'm always a little bit nervous about it, is getting the, I had to actually seal this with, I had to thin it out again with some Tamiya, I think this is lacquer thinner, or their regular acrylic thinner, because this is acrylic based. So I used their acrylic, Tamiya's acrylic thinner to make this, to thin this out so it's more like a paste now. And I hope I have enough to cover the entire floor surface and then fill in whatever I've got to fill in around this head when it's on the base. So I'm really hoping that works out, but because I don't have another jar of that desert sand, that's the last one. I'm not sure how readily available it is. I've got this smaller jug of corrosion texture, and this has not been opened yet. I didn't want to open it because once you break that seal, it makes it harder to keep it fresh. And that's why I had to kind of keep mixing thinner in this to keep it pliable. And then I used some parafilm over the top of it to kind of seal it a little bit better because it was just trying to dry out again since a couple weeks ago. Oops. Razor blade. Good thing that didn't land on anything like my leg. Okay. So now we were talking about earlier getting rid of those tide marks. I'm going to try this now that this has dried out a little bit on the top of the head here. You can kind of see it, especially right here, this area right here, right around. You can see that noticeable line. So I'm just going to try to soften that up a little bit with the sharper tip of this Q-tip here. I'm just going to put some of this enamel clear on it. A little bit more. It's got to be fairly wet. And then we'll just try to blend this edge That looks like it's working quite well, actually. I don't see anything on this side because this all kind of ran down and went into this seam. But it was up here on the top that I had that line, and that was really the only spot. And it looks like I was able to kind of blend that away. I'm going to have to go back, I think, with my Tamiya Model Masters and put that streak, that rust streak back in here, but I was able to blend that out, I think, pretty easily. Yeah, just kind of softly pulling those edges away. All right, now I'm going to use a little bit of fixer. I think did I do that yet? I don't think I did. No, I didn't. Use fixer on the entrance. Did I miss anything? Just so you can see, I walk the walk, not just... That is true, man. You are correct, sir. Definitely walks the walk and talks the talk. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Every time you come in here, you guys comment and share, like, subscribe, do all the things that keep this going. YouTube's really picky on their algorithms. So any little bit helps. Anytime you comment or anything like that, it really does make a huge difference. And then sharing the video as well it also works. There's lots of things you can do. But I think the biggest thing is tell your friends. Tell everybody, get them on the channel. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers. And then once we get there, take this thing to another level after that. And I'm at 416, I think, right now. So we're working on it. We're getting there. And it's all because of you guys that come in every week and support me. Jump into the chat 30 minutes before the show starts. All those things. All helps. Cool bananas. What's that? Falk Oswell. Nice. Is that a Maquet kit, Nick? The Falk is a Maquet, isn't it? I think so. I'm pretty sure that is. Okay, so since this is at a part where it's going to sit for a second, I'm going to bring this base back up. So you can kind of set this in there again. Whoa. Now I've got the extra pieces of the, get this all lined up here. There we go. So I've got these extra pieces of the energy tube, energy cable, whatever you want to call it. I'm not quite sure where to put them. I was thinking about laying one here, something like that. Maybe put this other piece here, but maybe that's too close. So maybe I should embed this one, straight down and have it sticking out of the dirt. And just maybe move this one far enough away. I've also got all these spent casings that I want to put a few of them around too, especially around the tank area. But I'll probably have this kind of sticking out of the, Maquet. That's what I thought. I need to get a Falk. I thought I may not. Do I have one? I can't remember if I have one. I shared a few streams ago, maybe been last week as well. I can't remember. There was an older gentleman that was in one of the model groups out here in Washington, and sadly he passed away. But before he did that, he called me. He put out a message one day on one of the web pages, one of the Facebook pages, and it was like, my eyesight's going. I can't build anymore. Sold all his stuff, and I ended up going to meet him at his house, and I bought a bunch of his kits. Ended up giving some away as gifts to friends, some of that. But I don't think there was a Falk in there, because if there was, I would have kept it. There was some Maquet kits for sure. I kept some, and I gave some away, or sold some. Not even sure, but yeah. I think I like the Falk. I'm trying to find one or a variant of that, because I know there's several. So let me know what you think. If you think this would look better sticking, straight up out of the dirt, like it fell down and went, plopped in there. Obviously, this is going to be covered up. I'll probably paint the sides black or a dark brown, and then I'll take this stuff and start. I'm going to put a thin layer over the whole base just to kind of get this whole thing covered. I've got some large modeling like spatulas that I can use to scoop this out and kind of, and I try to get it as thin as I could with that thinner. I may thin it down a little bit more just so it's a little more fluid and be able to spread it out easier, get this whole top surface covered, and then I can worry about using pigments as well to give the terrain features, darker areas, lighter areas, and fill in all this around the cables where this thing went kind of slammed into the dirt. And for those that hadn't seen it, we'll go back and show you at ground level what it looks like from the side. So it's pretty deep in the dirt there. A lot of this is going to be covered up. We get back to the other side here, where you have all the pistons that have exposed. I'm going to dirty those up and fill in. All that's going to be filled in down there. So a lot of this will be covered up. But what I may end up doing is just when I get ready, I'm going to do the whole base first, and then when I get ready to put this in place, I'm going to fill this up with that putty with that terrain sand, and get those areas, and then just press this down into it. And once it dries, it'll be set. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge to kind of get this to sit just right and get it in there and make sure. And then I can use a spatula, little small sticks. I've got these like something like a lot smaller, like this little spatula here. I can scoop out and tuck some of that material in those areas, fill in those areas underneath, make it look like, and then use some more dry pigments that I have, a lot of dirt and dust effects that I can use to give this a little more character. Before you get a Falk, let me know. I may be able to get one cheaper. Oh, nice. All right. Currently available for 110. What is? Let me look up. What currency do you use? Just out of curiosity. Oop, that's the wrong one. I don't want that. I want. Oh wait, that should be in my. There we go. Currency. So if we go to, what the heck does New Zealand use? Where are you? Japanese yen. What the heck? Oh, my currency app doesn't have as many currencies as it used to. Interesting. The New Zealand dollar, huh? Well, that's a bummer. I don't think my currency app has it anymore. Or it used to have a ton of. Oh, there we go. Maybe that's why. Okay. I had to select all so I can go find the. It just had basically a short list of probably the most common. It looks though these are in alphabetical order. So I've got to go down to. There we go. Where are you at? Nigerian, region. Oh, there we go. New Zealand dollar. Oh, what the hell? What is going on here? I don't know. This app is updated to a point where it's I'm not even sure it works the way it used to. What the heck is it? Huh. That's bizarre. I was going through the different currencies, and so one zone is 58 cents or 0.58. Are you sure that's 0.58? Because that's like a half a penny. Not even. Oh, there it is. Oh, shit. You son of a bitch. I'm telling you. This app is starting to irritate me. Don't want to open Pandora. No. Eat it. Oh my goodness. Let's go back. So, there. So you said, what was the original price? That was, 58 cents. Okay, so you said 110. So if we do, whoops, $64 US, that's not too bad. Hey, what's up, Damien? Look at that. Damien's popping in. How you doing, my friend? Long time no see. Good to see you. I just saw you jump into the chat there. Mr. Chaz Allen, that would be our good friend Damien. And I think you're in East Coast now, right? Like 70 to the door. Yeah, that sounds about right. The zero snuck in. Yeah, the zero snuck in. Around the same price here. Oh, okay. So yeah. I haven't been searching for new kits in such a long time, so it might be something I need to do, maybe not, but I'm not too overly concerned about it. So now it looks like that. Actually, I got to take a little bit of this, a little more off right there. There. So now, let's see, let me flip this back around. So we've got exit hole there, a lot of ash deep down inside. Can see that down in there. Both holes. Okay, we go back over here to the entrance. I think I might add a little more. I might have got too much of that ash down in there. I'll have to get some more of that red rust, but I can go back over that and just kind of blend it in. I didn't fix that with Fixer, which actually might tone it down a little bit. Anyway, if I use Fixer, I might just do that, but I'll go back and hit that with a little bit more. So, for those again, maybe just joining us, that's what we're looking at ground level there. I've got to dirty all that up in the bottom, but that will be done with the pigment. And if we go to this side, we can see how from the front. Oh, there we go. Dirty. We can dirty up. We can use some dust effects too. There'll be a lot more blending once this is all settled in. And then of course we've got on this side you got all the cables, everything laying on the ground, which I think look really nice. And then we'll dirty all that up too. All right. So take this back off, I suppose. Get this thing. This thing's just kind of hard to work around when you have this big foam disc. This is a lot easier to use. Bit of dry brushing around exposed parts and make those details. What was that? A bit of dry brushing around those exposed. Oh, neck. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Sure. Yeah, I was going to do that, but I know there's going to be quite a bit of that the sand, that diorama paste. It's going to be tucked into those areas too. So I can do a little bit of that, and then use that after dry brushing. Use that that paste to kind of fill in those areas, and that will bring it down to something that doesn't look entirely brand new, because it's a little bit too shiny under here. And you can see everything's kind of exposed. A little bit of maybe some flat coat too might also do the trick. I know I airbrushed all the flat coat on some of these connection parts under here. Some of this stuff I haven't touched, so it's still a little bit too shiny, including the bottom of the head here. So we're gonna have to dull that down. That'll be easy to do once I get everything set. in place. But I think so far it looks pretty good. Neck, damn autocorrect. Yeah, don't like me today. It happens. It happens, Nigel. Don't worry about it. All right. Oops, almost lost my brush. So, like I did say earlier, now that we're done with the fixer, I'm going to go ahead and just clean this out, because if I don't do it, it's not going to hurt the brush. It'll just end up. You'll just get a little crispy. A little bit of lacquer thinner, that just cleans it right up. The brush is good to go for next time. All right, boys and girls, we're getting down to that time, so I'm going to finish everything up. We've got a lot of people chiming in tonight. So we'll bring it back out here and look at the bench. So got all my pigments here, paints that I was using here. These are my Model Masters from Tamiya. As much as I didn't think I would use these as often, they're so very little versatile, easy things to use, and they just work out great every single time. So let's get back up here to the mug. Don't forget, you guys, you can go to thosegundamguys.org and look at their merch store. They've got all the whatever t-shirts they have left over. I'm not sure what else they sell. I think mostly just shirts, but I could be wrong. I haven't been on there in a while. But anything that they have left over the years is all going to be there. When they sell out, they sell out. They don't do second runs, stuff like that. So the shirt that I'm wearing says Macro Tech across the top. It's because it's all Macros, Robotech. But that's the theme for this year. So if you are going to make that show, bring your Macros kits and good luck. And then we'll see. We'll watch it online. I'm not going to be able to make it this year, unfortunately. So, but they were nice enough to hook me up with a shirt, and I've got last year's shirt as well, which I didn't get last year. So I ended up getting both of them. Just sent to me a few days ago. So I'm going to go back down the chat list here and make sure I thank everybody that came in. Giovanni was first, Julius a short second, and then Nigel, Mr. Fuzzy Space Kitty, came in third. And then these guys were chit-chatting for a bit, talking about who wanted a Gundam kit, stuff like that. Angel popped in right after that. And then, let's see if I can get down. Keep going here. Sorry, give me a second. Don't want to miss anybody. There it is. Fish Forever jumped in on the YouTube channel. And then Nick again, Angel, and Ultraman Dinah. Thank you again so much for joining in. You're a huge part of this show tonight, along with everybody that's in the chat. Nigel, of course, and Scholar Theorem Scholar. You came out on YouTube, didn't a couple little comments there. Thank you again so much. Let me see here. Ultraman. I don't think I missed anybody else except for Ken at the close to the very end there, as well as my good friend Damien back in the East Coast of the U.S. You jumped in right there at the end. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. It's been great chatting with you too, Nigel. And Nick says, later, fellas. Thanks again, Julius. What's this? Thanks for the honor to have Mega Entertainment. Well, appreciate it, guys. I hope it doesn't drag on too long. I know the first couple shows I did, it was like 2 hours long, and it just seemed like not too many people, when they see a video that long on YouTube, and maybe they probably still do. I need to start doing shorter videos, but the live stream at least is nice to do for at least an hour and a half. But yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you. As I try to say that every single time, from the bottom of my heart, you guys help me do this, and you make this show possible. We keep doing it. We spread the wealth. We try to promote the hobby, and hopefully somebody learns something new that watches this, and they can try a new technique and branch out and try something new. That's what it's all about. So in the meantime, we'll catch you guys next week. So far, the schedule is the same. My wife is scheduled to go in for surgery on Tuesday before, so I don't think anything will get in the way of the show on Wednesday. That being said, if something comes up, I'll let you know as soon as I can. But otherwise, so far they haven't changed our schedules, so everything's going to stay the same as far as work. So I should be able to do the show at the same time. And if I do end up having to work later, then I'll switch up the days and I'll let you know as soon as that happens. In the meantime, y'all have a nice day. Fuzzy, yeah, you too, my friend. It goes by quick. Yes, it does, Julius. And that means that we're having a good time. If it goes by fast, we're having a good time. So anyway, talk to you soon. Hit that like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Let's hit that 500 mark and keep growing from there. Talk to you soon.